This week's blog post is Sculpture Synopsis for the Hellenistic Greek period. For more on the why and how of the sculpture synopsis, see the first post in this series. You can also find the playlist on my YouTube channel to listen to all of them at once. These three works are characteristic examples of Hellenistic sculpture. On the left is Laocoon and his Sons, which was created probably in the 1st century BC. It's at the Vatican. The Sleeping Eros at the center is from the 3rd or 2nd century BC. It's at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And the Nike of Samothrace is around 200 BC. It's in the Louvre. What are the dates? You can pause this to look if you like. The Hellenistic period covers from 323 BC, when Alexander the Great died, to 31 BC, when Augustus became the first Roman emperor. Location. After the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC, the territory he had conquered was divided among the generals of his army. In ancient Greece, the Greek mainland was Hellas. Hellenic referred to things that were Greek. Hellenistic is a step removed, Greek-like. In the Hellenistic period, artists working in the Greek tradition were spread far and wide in the area around the Aegean, the Mediterranean, and in Asia Minor, modern Turkey, as well as the Near East. So foreign subjects and styles begin to intermingle with Greek. This is a map of the Greek-speaking world in around 200 BC. Notice that by 200 BC, the Romans had already expanded from the Italian peninsula to the western side of the Greek peninsula. By 133 BC, they controlled all the Greek mainland, plus the western part of Asia Minor, which is most of the area that's shown on this map. But for art, the Romans of this period mostly relied on artists from the Greek-speaking world, so the style during the Hellenistic period doesn't change that much. All right, let's look at the dominant ideas among the Greeks of the Hellenistic period. Men are fascinating. They are worthy of study and accurate representation. The world is dramatic now rather than delightful. In philosophy, the Epicureans say that happiness is lack of pain or worry. The Stoics say that happiness is performing one's duty to the whole, to something greater than you. The skeptics say that happiness is knowing that no knowledge is possible. And the mystery cults say that happiness is union with a god. Moving on to the media of this period, there are still a lot of stone sculptures, often marble, and some bronze. We don't have many original Greek bronzes from the Hellenistic period. We do have a lot of Roman copies in stone of bronze originals, which was also true of the classical period. Subjects. Hellenistic artists like extremes, young, old, muscular, frail. They also do portraits that are very detailed. In style, there is no sharp break from late classical. Artists can still produce a wide variety of figures and a wide variety of poses with considerable technical expertise. Trends that had been developing in the later classical period become more prominent and exaggerated. Notably, there is more violent movement, as we saw in the Laocoon. There's a wide range of emotions, again in the Laocoon. There's drapery with heavy folds and thick swirls, which you see on the Nike of Samothrace. There's a range of subjects from cute to extremely ugly, and there are realistic portraits. Because there is no chronological progression from less knowledge to more knowledge, Hellenistic sculpture is often dated not within a decade or two, as we saw with archaic and classical Greek sculpture, but within a century or two. What are the major innovations during the Hellenistic period? There's only one. The Greeks learned to do truly three-dimensional composition in which every angle is fascinating. This is the best example that I could find of that. Big names in art? There really are none, certainly not to compare with what we saw in the classical period. A few other examples of Hellenistic sculpture. At the center top is a boxer, circa 330 to 320 BC. On the lower right is the great altar at Pergamon from the mid-2nd century BC. It's actually quite large, 9 or 10 feet high. On the left is an old woman who dates to probably the 2nd century BC. When I said they range from very cute to quite ugly, I was thinking of this one. And at the center bottom is the Delos head, a very realistic portrait. To see the originals of Hellenistic Greek works, you would go to the National Museum in Athens, Metropolitan Museum of Art, British Museum, the Louvre, the Vatican. For further reading, I would recommend Richter's Handbook of Greek Art, Sandra Shaw's Windows on Humanity, and in Innovators in Sculpture, you could see chapters 5, 6, and 7. Just for fun, you could read snippets from the poetry of Theocritus and Callimachus. I've given you links in the blog post. DianeDuranteWriter.com has hundreds of posts on sculpture, painting, architecture, and my other obsessions. To join the Sunday Recommendations email list, visit the URL that's on the screen or email me. And you can say "Well done, Diane," or support my work and receive rewards by means of the tip jar on DianeDuranteWriter.com. As always, thank you for listening.